Have you ever considered all of the chairs that you've sat in through each and every phase of your life? We're going to walk through that throughout this talk. You know, this chair was the first chair you probably ever sat in. You probably don't remember it, and most likely it's people quite a bit older than you that do remember when you sat in this chair. This was your disposition when you sat in this chair, looking up. It was the reality that all that you would receive, all of your needs would be met from someone from above. You were in a disposition that was completely and fully dependent. What's ironic is it's also in this chair were the first times when you first said the words, mine, or that's mine. This begins the journey of our lives, caught between a disposition fully dependent on what is given to us or a disposition of entitlement. Each and every chair that we sit in will have its unique challenges. And the challenge for us as we receive God's grace throughout life is, do we have a disposition of praise and adoration and acknowledgement, looking up, realizing that all that we have, all that we've been given, are purely out of the grace and the mercy and the love and the generosity of God? Or do our hearts begin to move towards a disposition of entitlement, believing that we are worthy and we are owed? It's in this chair when that journey and this path begins. In this chair, this is the chair of endless possibilities. It's in this chair that all of your dreams are possible. You're only limited by your imagination. Every kid who sits in this chair thinks they're going to be an astronaut or famous or a pro sports star. In fact, I thought I was going to be a fighter pilot, then a pro athlete, even a marine biologist. Me, a marine biologist. But it's in this chair that you believe anything is possible. It's in this chair that your faith is so simple. It's in this chair that you would sing a song like Jesus Loves Me, belting it out with all your heart, never even considering if you can sing on key. It's a childlike faith. It's in this chair that Jesus would stop many of his disciples in a moment of teaching and take a child, put him on his knee, and explain what real faith looks like. Simple trust. See, no matter how old we get, no matter how far we become removed from this chair, we never stop being God's child. And that sense of adventure and simple trust is the challenge of every chair after this. Can we return to the place of simple trust and a sense of adventure, that every day is new and that Jesus is walking right alongside us? It's in this chair that our hopes and our dreams and all that make us who we are, that Jesus wants to draw us in close in simple trust and faith that he will walk with us every step of the way. This chair might be the most awkward chair of all of our lives. This is the chair when you begin to notice all kinds of things. You know, I think probably this chair is when you begin to notice the most the differences between you and somebody else. It's in this chair when the pecking order begins to form, the hierarchy of social groups and who's let in and who's not, the way that we see ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, the experiences and everything that happens in this chair, in some cases, sets the trajectory of the rest of our lives. It's in this chair when we make sometimes decisions that have life-altering and generational-altering impact. It's also in this chair when we begin to realize and recognize limitations. At one time, the world was our oyster. We believed we could be anyone and do anything. But it's in this chair, suddenly we're told and led to believe that what we thought was infinite potential, infinite possibilities, maybe, in fact, aren't possible at all. It's in this chair that we have the greatest struggles within ourselves, answering the deepest questions. Who am I? What am I? What gives me worth? What gives me value? What gives me purpose? This is a tough, tough chair to sit in. And I think it's a chair that for the most of us, we don't have great memories of this chair. And if you do have great memories of this chair, you are in select company. This is a tough chair to sit in. And we're so blessed that we had a God that actually lived through these years in this earth throughout his life. He was actually a teenager in those formative years. We're now going to take a look at the next chair in the next phase of life that we're going to sit in. And it has its own challenges. This chair is truly unlike any other chair. This chair is the one time, and I don't know if you want to call it college, I don't know if you want to call it your early 20s. This chair is a strange time for most people. Not all, but most. It is a time in which freedom, personal freedom, has never been higher, and yet responsibility has never been lower. This is the chair in which you can sleep as long as you want. You can go where you want to go. You can spend your money how you want to spend your money. You're accountable almost to no one else when you're in this chair. This is a chair that forms theories and philosophies and ideas that aren't tested yet, but they become part of the thought pattern and thought process of how life is going to go, how things are going to go, and how things are going to work out. It's in this chair sometimes that spiritual atrophy can take hold. We can become lazy. We lose some of the sense of community that maybe we had in the previous chair. Maybe we begin to feel a sense of distance from the faith that we once held so strongly. That was just kid stuff. And what's so interesting about this chair, and even how we can succumb even to spiritual atrophy in this chair, is that the very next chair that this chair often looks at and says, what a sellout, what a corporate sellout. Look at you, you're an old man, you're an old woman, you're just a parent in a minivan in the next chair. It's this chair that oftentimes finds that faith and those philosophies run right smack dab into what is coming next, the test of the next chair, the test of family, the test of work pressures, the test of stress and paying bills. If there was anything you could ever tell this chair, it would be to seize the day. It would be to walk closely with the Lord. It would be that all of the decisions that happen in this chair, albeit many of which you may regret, grace, grace, grace in this chair. Because it's that realization and that understanding and that heart set that is so needed in the next chair. This chair is controlled chaos. It is one event after another event, another recital after another recital. This is building your career, building your reputation, your standing, your security, maybe in your assets or your wealth, or some element of your job and your position within your company, while at the same time raising kids. This is elementary school with your kids, it's junior high, it's high school, it's from one event to the other, trying to manage all of it. And the days just seem to melt by, one after another. This chair is maybe where we come to believe that we have control and influence. This chair is sometimes the chair where we come to believe that we are building our influence, our own future. This might even be the chair when we start to lose our priorities, start to forget what matters most, start to put our trust and our hope in ourselves. We didn't mean to. Wasn't what we were looking to do, but the unique stresses and pressures of this chair sometimes just carry us all the way. There's a lot of noise in this chair. There's a lot of chaos in this chair. There's a lot that we have to deal with in this chair. And I think if there's ever a chair that we could ever sit in this life where faith and the day-to-day grind collide, it's this chair. It's this moment. And so we're going to look at what it looks like to get on the other side of this chair. So this is the chair when all the work has been done. The chaos of raising kids and the day-to-day grind is all but over. The career that you work so hard to build, the family that you work so hard to build, so much has come to completion by the time you reach this chair. This chair, not all that different than this tree, are incredibly similar. At this chair, you've put down roots, established, done. No longer can the winds of change and difficulty and hardship blow you over. You have put your roots down. You have established a legacy. In fact, the fruit of your labor is plain for all to see. The flip side to this chair is that there is now more time and more life behind you than in front of you. It's in this chair that we begin to reflect on what is our legacy. Who were we? What have we accomplished? What would others say about us? What about our families, our children, our spouse? What did we actually accomplish? It's in this chair that I think sometimes we miss the very, very subtle move of Satan to keep us from enjoying the fruit of our labor and hard work and toil and the beauty of what God has put around us in the context of rest. Sometimes it's in this chair that we can be overcome by almost despair, falling victim and prey to coulda, woulda, shouldas. Oftentimes it's in this chair that we begin to look back and ask ourselves questions about our lives that we can't even hope to change. Satan loves to push us back into yesterday because yesterday is the one thing we can't change. By the time you've reached this chair, you can't go back to the previous chairs. If this is the chair that you sit in, and when we reach this chair, it is so important to know that the very reality of the cross is Jesus not only dying for, rescuing, and redeeming our present and our future, but our very past, our coulda, woulda, shouldas, were nailed to that cross so that we can all sit in this chair as intended in a sense of peace and rest found only in Jesus Christ. So this is the final chair that I think we spend most of our lives trying to avoid, trying not to think about, trying to stay busy. And yet there is a point in most of our lives where we will find ourselves in a chair similar to the one I'm in now. Not all that different than the first chair that we sit in. The reality of our power, our control, and what we thought we had control and power over, in fact, becomes an illusion. One more time, we're faced with our dependence on others just to meet the most basic needs and necessities. See, I think this is what Solomon was really confronted with in Ecclesiastes, that in spite of all of his power, all of his influence, that at the end of it all, it couldn't buy him his youth, it couldn't buy him his health or his well-being. It couldn't buy him a better position in the eyes of God. I wonder what it would be like if we could put the perspective of those who sit in this chair here and now into the minds and into the hearts of those who sit in all of the other chairs that we talked about. How freeing it would be to recognize that every seat that we sit in has been prepared for us by God, has been given to us by God, and that in His presence and in a relationship with Him and Him alone, as each and every one of those chairs truly have meaning, and that because of the love of Jesus seated on the most important chair of all, in fact, the very throne of God in heaven, that when we get to this chair, we're not really alone. We're not really isolated. We are the sons and daughters of a King, of a life well lived, marked by meaning and purpose and an identity in Jesus Christ.